for coming. My name is Hu Nguyen, that's Huuyen, and I'm an organizer with Raise Your Hand Action. I'm also a board member of Logan Square Neighborhood Association. Today, we're delivering a letter signed by 21 organizations. We're delivering it to the Joint Review Board, telling them to reject the mega-TIFs and not to be complicit in the diversions of hundreds of millions of dollars, of tax dollars that are coming from their own coffers, placed into the hands of private developers in some of the wealthiest and most congested areas of the city. The very opposite of blighted areas that TIFs are designed to help. I have 2 children in CPS, and this district that has cut hundreds of millions of dollars from their schools over the last 6 years. So my question is to CPS, are you really telling us you're going to forego $450 million so that developer Sterling Bay can build in Lincoln Park? This is a time when residents in Chicago are demanding a new era of clean and transparent government. When a massive ethics scandal has just been unearthed in these very halls of this very building involving the person who held the keys to the finances of this city for decades on the eve of the municipal election. How dare these taxing bodies be complicit in raising taxes on Chicagoans from Rogers Park to Roseland at this pivotal moment, all so they can pad the pockets of developers in Lincoln Park. Now we're going to hear from Don Darling, who was a part of the Lakeview Lutheran Church. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. My name is Don Darling, and that's spelled D-A-R-L-I-N-G, just like it sounds. I'm here from Lakeview Lutheran Church. These 2 multi-billion-dollar TIFs would forfeit hundreds of millions of dollars to area governments, schools, community colleges, the water district, etc., over the next 23 years or even longer. This will only add to the burden of all Chicago and Cook County taxpayers. And perhaps worst of all, it is not clear or proven that these developments require TIF dollars to be constructed. Without such proof, the TIFs could be in violation of state law. I believe good governance requires that planning and developments of these TIFs proceed much more slowly. I think many of us in the community still have lots of questions that have yet to be adequately answered. How can a plan commission hearing be held 2 weeks from now when most of the specifics are not yet clearly identified and presented to the community and the citizens? And why today are these taxing bodies apparently so willing to give up future income, hundreds of millions of dollars of future income? Have any public officials considered the inequity of these developments? It is only we, the community organizations, and the press who care about is it only we and the community organizations and the press who seem to care about the future financial condition of the city of Chicago? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Don. We're going to hear from Judy Mansueto now from the Friends of North Branch Park and Nature Preserve.
Thank you. Hello, I am Judy Mansueto, Judymansueto, and I am with Friends of North Branch Park and Nature Preserve. We are also against the TIF. We do not believe that there should be a vote on this land on January 24th. We were promised more hearings in our community, and we were told that they would happen. Given that this TIF is being talked about at the large numbers of dollars it's being talked about, please consider how much it is going to cost to pay back the TIF. I have heard numbers from $800 to $900 million for the Portland River Armitage TIF, and that it will cost as much as $400 million to pay back that TIF. That is a lot of money that our city is putting forward for a private developer. The second point that I'd like to make is that if there is going to be a TIF, which of course we do not want, we want a public park owned and operated by the City of Chicago and the Park District of Chicago. We do not want private space given to us by Sterling Bay, who can demand what time and when and what we can do in that park space. So with this new huge development, 5,000 residential units expected to be brought into this community in a very crowded neighborhood where all of us live and have to deal with all the problems of the traffic and the development today, we demand that the city slow down, explain more to us, and do not pass this TIF. Thank you.
Estella from Bryant Park Neighborhood Council talking now.
Good morning. It gives me great pleasure to be able to introduce myself to you. My name is Estela Diaz. I am mother of 5 children, 4 of them in the public education system. I am also a volunteer and a part of the Mentoring Hearts program at Nathan Davis School, located at the southwest of the city, a very underprivileged community. I am a believer that in asking the act of gift, and I want to ask you, leaders and representatives of our communities, that help us bring funds to our schools. I see with sadness that it is planned to create a new fund for infrastructure in a privileged neighborhood. But answer these questions, and our children, our schools, our communities. I repeat, as leaders and representatives of our communities, I ask you to do your work and bring the necessary funds for our schools. I want to mention some needs for my school, which is Nathan Davis. In 6 years, until last summer, we began to paint the school, but the work stopped because due of lack of resources. Does not have an elevator, which means we don't have handicapped kids join our school because we don't have the elevator. In this building is 3 floors. Teachers buy educational material from their own pocket because we don't have the resources to give for our children. In the next few months, a group of parents will be in action demanding improvements in the needs of the American, African, and Latino communities. We should not be here demanding what is rightfully ours. I want to end with this sentence. Many small people in small places doing small things, they can change the world.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time. And I want to continue with in Spanish. Buenos días. Me da mucho gusto presentarme ante ustedes. Mi nombre es Estela Díaz, soy madre de 5 hijos, 4 de ellos en el sistema público educacional. También soy voluntaria y parte del programa de padres mentores en la escuela Nathan Davis, ubicada al suroeste de la ciudad, en una comunidad muy poco privilegiada. Soy creyente que en el pedir está el dar, y quiero pedirles a ustedes, líderes y representantes de nuestras comunidades, que nos ayuden a traer fondos para nuestras escuelas. Veo con tristeza que se planea crear un nuevo fondo para la infraestructura en un barrio privilegiado. Pero contéstenme estas preguntas. ¿Y nuestros hijos? ¿Nuestras escuelas? ¿Nuestras comunidades? Repito, como líderes y representantes de nuestras comunidades, les pido que hagan su trabajo y traigan los fondos necesarios para nuestras escuelas. Permítanme mencionar algunas realidades de la escuela Nathan Davis. En 6 años, hasta apenas el verano pasado se comenzó a pintar el edificio, pero la obra paró por falta de recursos. No contamos con un elevador, lo cual significa que muchos niños discapacitados en muletas o sillas de ruedas no pueden entrar a nuestras escuelas porque no tenemos el recurso para tenerlos ahí. No contamos con las disponibilidades para tener ese tipo de niños en nuestras escuelas. Los maestros compran material de sus propios bolsillos porque el dinero no alcanza. Sí, puedo continuar con la lista, pero es muy larga. En los próximos meses estará en acción grupos de padres exigiendo mejoras en las necesidades de las comunidades afroamericanas y latinas. No deberíamos estar aquí exigiendo lo que por derecho nos corresponde. Y quiero terminar con esta frase. Mucha gente pequeña, en lugares pequeños, haciendo cosas pequeñas, pueden cambiar al mundo. Muchas gracias por su tiempo.
So thank you all so much for coming diverse group, right? Where we're representing 21 different organizations who have signed on to an open letter that we are going to deliver right now to the Joint Review Board. But our message is one of solidarity and equity. So we're saying that these TIFs are going to affect the entire residents of Chicago, from Rogers Park to Roseland, not just those who live in Lincoln Park or in adjacent areas, okay? So thank you all so much for coming, and here's to rejection of the mega-TIFs.